Welcome to Trailblazers and Titans with your host, Dr. Keith Haney. Trailblazers and Titans is your go-to podcast for insights, inspiration, and actionable advice from the world's most successful entrepreneurs and leaders. Each episode features in-depth interviews with industry pioneers, innovative thinkers, and business moguls who share their journeys, challenges, and strategies for success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned leader, or someone looking to make a significant impact, this podcast provides the tools and motivation to blaze your trail and become a titan in your field. Tune in to learn, grow, and transform your vision into reality.
My guest today is Pete Schramm. Pete is an entrepreneur, motivator, author, and experienced team leader with a passion for connecting people and solving complex problems. He grew up on his family's farm near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where he developed a strong work ethic and a drive for bringing people together. Pete pursued mechanical engineering, an undergraduate degree from Catholic University, and studying abroad in Hong Kong in 2013. He began his professional career at Lockheed Martin in Operations Leadership Development Program, where he led various roles and led significant projects, including designing Florida's solar carport in 2017. His experience at Lockheed Martin highlighted the value of professional mentorship, which became a cornerstone for his career. His leadership focused on building robots for the Army, emphasizing people over process to enhance productivity and collaboration. We welcome Pete to the podcast. Well, welcome, Pete, to the podcast. How you doing today?
Doing great, Keith. How we doing?
I can't complain, although we're going to be rivals for the next couple of days as the Cardinals play the Pirates. But hey, we'll get through it.
One of us is going to be happier than the other, and I don't plan on shedding a tear.
Well, we'll see. But so I love to ask my guests this question. What's the best piece of advice you received that's resonated with you through your career?
Life is what you make of it, and don't go on the journey alone. The way I see this one is learn from each experience and opportunity, whether it's good, bad, or somewhere in the middle, and know that taking a proactive approach to surrounding yourself with a support system is paramount. Again, doing that before those bad times hit us. Life is what you make of it, and don't go the journey alone.
I love that, because you really going the journey alone is first of all a lonely experience, but you also don't have the strengths and the opportunities that somebody coming along the journey with you can add to your journey.
Right. Learn, grow, develop, brings that diversity of thought to the equation.
Well, I brought you on because you have a cool book out called Pathfinders. Give us kind of an overview of the book and what sparked the idea to write it.
Yeah, so I've got a copy here. If you're watching on video, you can see Pathfinders, navigating your career map with a personal board of advisors. And this came from a whole lot of what not to do and how to not spend a whole lot of extra time on this professional development journey. So, Keith, I grew up on a farm, went to engineering school, played college sports, and then went into defense contracting, building robots for the Army. And I was able to get promoted along the way, and there was good success happening. And I'm like, okay, how do we do this for other people? And then folks began asking me questions. Hey, Pete, what's a mentor? Where do I find one of these? What do I talk about with them? And then organizations asked me, associations, high schools, colleges, groups. Hey, Pete, can you talk to us, give us some tips on this mentoring thing? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll tell you what I've figured out along the way. And then it got to organization, companies would say, hey, Pete, can you come talk to our employees about this? I'm like, me? Yeah, sure, let's do it. If they find value in it, I'm all for it. Then I gave a TED talk on the topic. And that's where it really all came together. And so the book, right, to answer your question from a couple minutes ago, it came from people saying, we need a little bit more. Can you give us a roadmap, a guide? And I make it really simple, engineer, right? So career map, personal board of advisors. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you what I told you. So in the book, we dive into what's a career map, what's a personal board of advisors, and it's really meant to be this resource, this tool that helps you as you're coming into the professional world, as you're in that mid-level management role, and as you're a leader. Hey, what kind of culture should I be driving for my people? So it's meant to be a tool, an asset, a resource for this methodology of investing in our people and growing professionally.
So let's dive a little deeper. What does the concept of personal board of advisors mean to you, and why is that crucial for your career development?
So the personal board of advisors is the idea of multiple mentors. So a lot of times, people say, hey, go get yourself a mentor. And you're like, okay, well, after you ask the questions of what does that mean? Where do I find one? When should I get a mentor? Then you start thinking, okay, this insight and guidance and perspective is helpful, but is this entirely the right way to go about it? So by getting inputs from a couple of different people, and I'll turn to a page in here where you actually get to see one of the infographics, you see that those different icons on there stand for some of the different people on your board. A functional mentor, a cross-functional mentor, ally, champion, sponsor, your boss. Maybe you have a therapist or a coach on your personal board of advisors. But it's really that idea of multi-dimensional career advice and feedback along the way. You might call your inner circle, you might call your personal board of directors, but it's this idea of, again, not going alone, but adding a little bit more structure and process to that concept.
That's such a unique concept. I've heard people talk about finding mentors, but I like the idea of having a wide range of mentors, a wide range of advisors who serve different purposes in your journey and in your life. When I was writing my first book, I did that without really calling it that. I got people who did different things for me. So I got someone who's going to be the kick in the pants person. I got someone who's going to be the encouraging person. Someone who's just going to be the quiet person that was praying for me along the way. But everybody had a certain role. And when I got stuck or I needed someone to go to, I knew exactly which of those people to reach out to say, hey, this book is hard. I'm afraid to release it. They just kicked me in the pants going, you got to go do it. Or I just needed to be encouraged that day. So I like that idea of surrounding yourself with different people that serve different roles in your life.
And that way you're also not overwhelming one single person, right? You can spread it. What we want to diversify our investments, right? Same thing. We want to diversify our investments in ourselves. So if we're able to get that insight, guidance, and perspective from other individuals, then we're not only reducing risk, but we're setting ourselves up for increased success in the future.
Yeah, and I think you also get a better input because you're not overwhelming one person. It has to be everything for you. So that's
100%.
That's also, I love that.
Yeah. Now it's on you if you overwhelm each of those individuals, right? That's a whole nother conversation. That's why you check out the book, right? Some of the different things to talk about. And actually, at some point, we'll talk a little bit more about the technology that's going along with this. So you ever heard of Duolingo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So think Duolingo for professional development, right? That's what we put together. So excited to bring that to the world in more fervor, I guess, and with a lot more excitement, and making it easy for people to know what to do and kind of guide them and be their career companion on this journey.
So talk about the science behind it, the technology behind it.
Yeah. So in March of 2018, I was working at a large organization and realized that there was a need for more streamlined, focused, structured conversations, right? Who can give me some of that advice? We talked about that idea of a mentor. Well, where the heck do I find me one of these, right? What do I talk about with them? So that's whenever this idea of Latitude came to be. All right, here's who I can have a conversation with inside my organization, what they want to talk about, and when they're available. And I can put in some of my notes and agenda items, not just in a notebook, but inside something that's never going to get lost, the cloud inside the technology. So that's what Latitude started off as. And then leaders began asking us, all right, we got a mentorship program. How do we know if it's actually working? So we added more metrics and reporting. If you can't measure it, how can you improve it? And then they said, well, what's our baseline? how are we doing from a connection, trust, well-being, satisfaction perspective? And so our chief scientist put together LACE, Latitude Assessment of Connection and Engagement. And that's kind of the baseline survey that we'll share with organizations. Let's figure out where you're at today, right? And we'll facilitate the survey, do the analysis, give you the report along with the recommendations. So now it's like, all right, I'm going to measure stuff asynchronously. People are able to connect and grow together. And then the part that we added in is this aspect of asynchronously, each individual is able to build out their career map. Because again, people are doing the mentoring conversations, but they ask us, Keith, hey, what am I supposed to discuss, right? How do I show my plans to other people in an easy to digest, easy to understand manner? And who are those couple of people? So the career companion capability is bite-sized educational tidbits of what to discuss and how to go about this. Build up your career map and past, present, future, and the couple of paths in the future, and then track that personal board of advisors and who those people are and when we want to engage and connect with them over time.
I love that. In Pathfinders, you talk about the importance, and you kind of just alluded to that, the importance of intentionality. How do readers apply this to their career path?
Yeah, so if you don't have a plan or you don't have a map of sorts whenever you're hiking, it's a little difficult to get to where you want to go in a timely fashion. Same thing in the book, I talk about it from a navigating nautical journeys, right? If you set sail and it gets windy out there, you get blown off your initial path, your initial course. How do you get back on path? What is guiding you, right? Those tools, technology, maybe as people. So there's a lot of analogies that we can make along the way here, but it's really, how do we have a little bit of sure, could we stumble along and get there, right? Walk through the forest? Can we sail across the ocean? We could probably get there, but we might waste a couple of, days, months, years. And that's what we're trying to avoid. How many people do you come in contact with, Keith, that they say, man, I wish I would have found this role sooner. I wish I would have found this mentor sooner. My life would be, so much different, if this happened sooner. And so that's what we're trying to give back is the most important resource and the most precious thing that each of us have is time.
I love that. People always want to know, does it work? So, can you share a success story of someone who implemented the Pathfinders methodology and tell us how that story turned out?
Yeah. So individual at a large organization, right? She's one of the users. It's a, B2B software as a service. So the organizations sign up and their employees get to use it. So this earlier career individual got in as part of the onboarding process. She was assigned a buddy. She was assigned a mentor a couple of months in. And so she's able to have these conversations with a couple of different people, able to put together that career map and show it, to others. And they're like, whoa, you seem to have your stuff together, but you're so, at a young age. What in the world? She's like, hey, I read the book. I heard Pete speak a couple of times, and I figured, maybe I give this a try. He seems to know a little bit about what he's talking about, some of the time at least. And so that was interesting where she was able to take a proactive approach to building that support system, right? Life is what you make of it. She wanted to make it great, and don't do it alone. That's where she was building out the multidimensional support structure, right? Those couple of different people helping her out along the way. And so what happened is she was able to get that advice and guidance from other people. Hey, how'd you get to where you are today? Right? What kind of different steps could I or should I take, moving forward from here? What advice would you give me as I'm moving forward? And so just by asking about these questions, she learned about other opportunities and things that she could apply to. Found some of those jobs, was actually recommended to a few of those roles and opportunities, applied, promoted. So it's been really cool to see how, hey, you're already doing some of these things. We're just going to add a little structure, a little bit of process, save you some time. We'll have some fun along the way.
That's great. I love those stories of somebody taking a method and turning it into real life productivity. So that's really amazing.
Heck yeah. I mean, why, spend time on it if it's not going to make your life easier?
Right. Exactly. I'm curious, as you think about this book, how do you decide what goes into this book? Because as a writer, you have so much information. How do you hone it down to decide these are the critical things to put in here or not?
Man, whenever I figure out the right answer to that, I'll let you know. We'll do another session on here. But I think it goes back to the don't do it alone aspect. So as I was writing the book last year, had more than 100 different people that I was able to bounce ideas off of and run some of the thoughts past from the concepts, right? And then get yourself a fantastic editor as well. So that was the other piece. There was a certain point whenever the book, which is, I don't know, maybe that's about 250 pages. It was planned to be closer to 400 or 450 pages with all the text, the words and everything. And the editor said, we got a lot of fluff in here. This would be really comfortable to sleep on, but ain't nobody going to be reading this. So I said, okay, what do you advise? And that's where it was Allison, who was absolutely fantastic. Gave her a shout out at the beginning of the book. Said, hey, let's whittle some of these things down, right? Let's make sure that there's a good flow in here. And I also think less but better is an important approach, and put yourself in the reader's shoes. So the feedback that we continue to get up to this point is it's an easy read. It's easy to follow. I'm able to take action. I can relate to this. It feels like we're having a conversation together, and almost like I'm there with you, right? We're going on this adventure together, Pete. So thanks for having that. So I think it's just an iterate process, and continue to be diligent on the aspect of less but better, which is a concept from Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism, one that I like to recommend to people.
That's good advice, because book writing is never easy. And you're right, to hone it down to make sure that it's a reasonable amount that people can actually flow through it, because you want them to get through the content, otherwise write the book, right?
Hey, Keith, same question back to you.
Yeah. So for me, I started out, my first book was Healing Race in America. And there was so much information. As a matter of fact, I thought it was too deep in some places. But my editor did a good job of saying, let's move this here. Let's do because I had different order altogether for the chapters I was doing. But we did hone it down to where it was manageable. It's probably still a little longer to do as a Bible study in 1 hour than I wanted it to be. So some of the first chapters were maybe a two Bible study thing. But we were able to really get it to the point where it was concise and it was impactful and meaningful. And the reports I got back from people were it was long, but it was worth it in some places. So I'm glad you spent more time here and maybe less time there. So, yeah.
The other thing that I'd share is the personal perspectives and the stories. That was a really helpful piece. So growing up on the farm, what do? I put a little tractor in there, right? So we call those the Pete's perspectives. And that's where people say, hey, man, that really hit home and made it feel more personalized. So that was a really helpful piece of feedback. Casey shared that one with me.
Yeah, that's great. I'm curious, were there any chapters or sections that you found particularly challenging to write?
Yeah, so the pieces on ally and diversity, right? I'm a tall white guy, so whenever there's a lot of things that go kind of your way, if we will say, right? Of course, there's hardships, but to make sure that I'm able to put myself in other people's shoes, and that's the one that probably workshopped over a dozen times. Not going to lie, talked to at least 8 different people, because there's a whole lot that I don't know that I don't know. And it's a very, very important piece. And there's numerous allies that have helped guide me and share those insights, perspectives, and experiences, and specifically the lived experiences. So if there's one to really call out, it's that one, because I want to make sure that it is impactful and valuable for the reader on all fronts.
That's good. I like that, because you do have to know your limitations and also be self-aware, because you can come off as arrogant and out of touch if you don't have people around you to kind of give some input in those sections.
There's another one in here. Let's see if I'm able to find it pretty quickly. So I did a study abroad in Hong Kong. There's a picture of Bruce Lee, right? So I go for a run. That's what I do to clear my head and try and, stay in shape so I can still play basketball and coach basketball. But Bruce Lee has a special quote, Keith. And it says absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. So this is a methodology. This is a guide. This is something to help you find your path, right? But by no means do I have all the answers. So this is a starting point. So truly, right? Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own.
As people pick up this book and hopefully read through it all the way, what do you hope is one key takeaway the readers get from reading Pathfinders?
The biggest thing is to have a plan and know that you're able to make what you want out of life and that you don't have to do this alone, right? So you asked for one thing, I'm gonna give you two, right? Put together that plan, that career map, and put together your personal board of advisors, those multiple people. And I try and, again, make it super simple right on the front cover. Hey, that's what we're going to dive into and talk about. So that's really is to drive action. And there's plenty of, space for notes and resources that we link to throughout the book to make it truly action oriented.
I had a discussion with somebody who talks about the fact of purpose versus passion. I'm wondering if you have thoughts about that. They said, passion isn't really all that helpful for us, but purpose is more powerful. You got any thoughts on that?
Purpose and passion. I kind of see it as what you want to do and enjoy doing versus what you need to do and what fuels you, right? On page 50 in here, I talk about the ikigai, which kind of blends those two things together. So as you get to learn more and more about me, it's a yes and, or a together, or a we, or let's build on that. So I think to align the purpose and passion with the necessary people to get the profits that you need, right? I like to do 3s or 4s. That's where it really comes together. So think about what is it that you really enjoy doing. And I asked the question, Keith, what would you do if money wasn't an issue? How would you spend your time, right? So think about, what do you love doing? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what can you get paid for, right? Those kind of 4 different dimensions of the ikigai, and thinking about how we blend them together. And it's not a super easy thing, but again, putting some of that thought and a little bit of, pre-work or homework together before you get into those conversations with your PBA, personal board of advisors, that's where, they're able to say, hey, you think about this, you think about that, because they can help you cultivate some of those thoughts and ideas.
Sounds like another book there, the 4 Ps.
Man, we'll get there.
I love that. So how does your Pathfinder book complement your work at Lattice?
So at Latitude, we did a little rebrand. So Lattice is still the parent company, but Latitude is where it's all about mapping out professional growth. And the technology is there for the organizational use cases. We talked about the surveys, mentorship, career companion. But the book is whenever organizations say, hey, we're not ready for that technology yet, right? Hey, we do want to invest in our people. So the book is a helpful tool and resource for organizations' new employee onboarding process, for their leadership development cohorts, for some of the mentorship programs that they have going on. And it's a way to, not just talk about an idea, but to take action on a thought or a concept. And so the methodology is there to reach further. And it's also, some organizations are going to say, we're not going to invest in our people. So individuals and those go-getters are able to have access to some of this, process and methodology, even if their leaders might be squishing them or squashing them in some capacity.
I like that. I'm curious too, thinking about, your background and your career, how has growing up on the farm, working in engineering, your travel really shaped the insights you provide in this book?
A work ethic, like you can't buy at, any grocery store, department store. I'm so grateful for my mom, my dad, my brother, for being there every step of the way and really driving that home. The ability to work hard, and do what's needed, prioritization, what's important now, but also that mission of, growing up in the church and continuing to prioritize faith, of bettering the lives of others, translate that to the professional journey. So the book is really rooted in that vein of, it's not easy and it's not going to, be done for you. But if you work hard and have a little bit of a plan when it comes to this mapping out professional growth, success is possible. So, the book was created to truly better the lives of others. And that's why it's here. So, I learned a lot from the farm. There's another book that's coming out that'll talk a little bit more about the farm to founder journey. But that one's not, I can't finish that one just yet. But the farm is a special place. And that's also kind of my recalibration point, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
I've been to a couple dozen countries, but that's home. That'll always be home. And that's kind of, base one, square one.
I love that. So here's a chance to speak to someone just starting out their career. How can they build a personal board of advisors? And I also want you to kind of focus on, as you're thinking about those personal board of advisors, what are you looking for as kind of a interview process to know who are good? Because you can get advisors who aren't necessarily helpful for you. But, what are some key things to make sure you pick wisely in your advisors?
Yeah. So, Keith, I'm a big basketball fan, and I want to thank you for what you just did there, setting me up with an alley-oop. So in the book, this is page 33, we talk about the checklist, right? So go through those 14 different points of, hey, what does make a good individual for me? Because it's kind of like dating, right? Somebody can look great on paper. Somebody can say, hey, y'all gotta go have a conversation. We might say yins in the Pittsburgh area, right? Yins, go have a conversation. But after you start interacting, maybe you're not a good fit. Maybe you're not aligned, professionally, morally, kind of what socially, right? Or even faith-based, right? There's some different things that can bring us apart. But also the time, right? Make sure that you set those goals and expectations at the beginning. Hey, I want to, figure out if we can have, just give you a phone call, once a month, every other month, maybe bounce some ideas off you. But whenever you think about an early career individual, somebody that's just getting started, it's really the exploration and being in sponge mode. You have that privilege of youth on your side, and the more you seek first to understand, the further that you'll go on this journey. And I think that's very important. And so the way that we might actually see this play out in reality is, hey, we're at the water cooler, or maybe we were on a team Zoom call, right? A Zoom call. Maybe I saw you post something on LinkedIn. This is another individual at my company. And I just shoot you a message, if we're not all inside of Latitude already. And I say, hey, Keith, I like what you shared here. I like what you did here. Can I, grab a cup of coffee with you? Can we go to lunch at some point? Date 1 with a time, date 2 with a time. Just pick your mind, right? That is not overly difficult on your side to say yes, no, option A, option B, or actually I propose this time to you. And you're going to talk about yourself, which is an easy thing to do. So that's one approach, and that's something that we recommend, versus what some people will do is, oh my gosh, I just read this Pathfinders book by this Pete guy, and I have to find a cross-functional mentor. Keith, it looks like I'm in engineering and you're in marketing. Will you be my cross-functional mentor? Let me turn to the back of the book. If you are in this role for me, it says that me and you need to talk every 3 to 8 weeks for at least 30 minutes. And these are my goals and accomplishments. You're going to say to yourself, man, you need to drink less coffee. And I don't think I have enough time for that. You're putting a lot of work on my shoulders. So it's just thinking about how you go about those different approaches, just like anything in life.
I'm curious. I'm listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, if you're a young professional, maybe you think that you need to pay for these kind of things. How do you find people who are willing to invest in you and see you as an investment, not as a client? Because sometimes everybody wants to be paid for everything. So how do you kind of balance those two things out?
Yeah. So can you pay for this stuff? Sure. And there's a lot of coaches out there. And as you progress, your board will change over time. That's okay. Typically, once you get to the mid-career, you might have a coach or a couple of coaches. And as you progress to later in your career, and you climb up the food chain, right, the corporate ladder, you might have multiple coaches for various different things. And coaches are typically paid. And that's okay. But I think there's a lot of peer-to-peer opportunities. People want to grow. And the best leaders know that paying it forward is a good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's also helpful for the organization, investing in future talent. But there's also the piece of reverse mentorship. So I'm going to learn from you. You're going to learn from me. And whenever people have that open mind and they know that this is going to be, because I read the Pathfinders book and they got the methodology, right? They are able to structure some of those conversations. So it's not just one-sided, gimme, 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 right? But we're figuring out how we can both win in this together. So, but the other part I'll say on that, Keith, is it's not easy. It takes time. And again, just like dating, you're going to kind of strike out a couple of times. You're going to say, okay, this might, be a good fit, but is it a great fit? Right. And that's the important piece, to not settle along the way as you're going through this journey.
If you're a person who likes to make people happy, how do you divorce from a board member or board or personal advisor who isn't a good fit? So how do you kindly say, thanks, but this isn't working for me?
Yeah. So we actually go through the hire, admire, fire, retire stages, right? There's 7 or 8 different steps in the board building process. And it's really important as we're inquiring at the beginning, is we set those goals and expectations, so that at a certain point, if the goals, the what we want to accomplish, and the expectations, the how we're going to get it done, if we're not in alignment with those things, which we review on a quarterly basis, then we say, hey, here's what we said we're going to do, and we're not there right now. There's a divergence in this. And so it's not meant to be transactional, but it's meant to be more fact-based and leave the emotion out of it. And there's 2 ways that we can take people kind of off of our core board and put them on our bench, is the term that I use. Maybe there's a better term for it, but it's, you're not in my active inner circle at this stage of my life. And that's okay, right? So fire means, hey, something did not, and again, this is just the way I talk about it, right? So fire is where you say, hey, something happened, the way, you acted, I acted, but we're going to discontinue this right now. I don't feel good about this relationship anymore. Thank you. Appreciate it. Versus the retire piece, which is, hey, we kind of grew out of the need, for this. And that might be where my career map was going this way. And now it's going to go that way, right? My functional mentor might change drastically as I went from individual contributor engineering into program management, looking at cost, technical, and schedule. So I might say, hey, Keith, I really enjoyed this a lot. I appreciate it. Let's keep in touch, maybe once, twice a year. But I think what got me here won't get me there. And there's no hard feelings along the way. So you kind of grow out of those different pieces.
So it's okay to be Justin Fields, the bench quarterback.
Man, we're going to see what happens with my Steelers this year. Who knows?
I'm a big Steelers fan too, so don't feel bad about that.
The who's fans?
I'm a big Steelers fan too. Actually, on my wall, I have the 6 Super Bowl tickets hanging on my wall from past Super Bowl wins. So
let's go. I'm in an alternate location today, but the single piece of office furniture I've taken with me to every office I've had is a terrible towel.
There you go.
Yep.
I love that. I'm curious, as you look at the future of career development right now, how do you see Pathfinder kind of helping people step into that future of career development?
Yeah, I think this is the next step. Taking an approach of having a plan, sharing it with others, doing it asynchronous, integrating it to those existing processes of onboarding, mentorship, performance reviews, stay interviews, manager one-on-ones. This is what you discuss and hit on and how you gather those thoughts together. And with the Latitude technology, that's just, hey, let's save you a little bit more time. You got the ideas, the motivations, and the thoughts. Now we're just going to help you put it on paper, rather in the computer on the system, so that it's easier to edit, update, share, and you have your nudge entity, right? We're going to guide you along the way with the tech. But the book and the methodology is really meant to be, hey, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. One of the biggest reasons that people voluntarily leave organizations is no map to professional growth. So by adding this to your new employee onboarding, process, you're able to say, hey, if you choose to be that aspiring professional, drink that water, right? This is your map to professional growth from day one. And you're able to figure out as leaders, who's taking advantage of this, who's raising their hand, who's asking questions, who's knocking on those doors and saying, hey, Keith, you got 5 minutes? Just want to pick your mind on something. We meet for coffee, we meet for lunch. Hey, can we do a follow-up in, 45, 60 days from here? Bounce some more ideas off you. But it's being more intentional about investing in our people, meeting them where they are, but also adding a little bit of structure and accountability to the process.
That's awesome. I love to ask my guests this question. What do you want your legacy to be?
Pete was able to better the lives of those around him. And as a result, they saved time going through their professional journey. He was a connector, a collaborator, and somebody that I wanted to spend more time with, and we need more people like him with that similar mission, drive, and energy.
That's great. As we wrap this conversation up, it's been a phenomenal conversation. Is there one message of hope or a call to action you want to leave with our listeners today?
Yeah, call to action. Go grab a copy of the book. Put together your career map. Put together your personal board of advisors. And say thank you to the people that have helped get you to this point. The second piece, because I'm really good, you asked me for one, I'm going to give you two. Everybody go follow Keith. And whenever he posts about this podcast, please engage with that post and just say one thing that you took away from today. Maybe it's a question, maybe tag somebody else, but let's build up his presence. The team does a great job with this, spends a lot of time on it. So please, let's thank Keith by engaging with what's going on here. There's a lot that goes into this. And so let's show with not just our thoughts or ideas, but with action that this means a lot.
Where can listeners find your book and also connect with you and Latitude if they want to know more, get their corporation on board with this process?
Yeah, LinkedIn's the best way. Pete Schramm, PeteSchramm. We'll put it in the show notes. You'll link it over there. But LinkedIn's the best way, and everything spans from there.
Well, thanks so much, Pete. And I'm so glad we had this conversation. And all I can say is go Cardinals as we take out the Pittsburgh Pirates this week.
Let's go Buccos. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, everybody else, for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Trailblazers and Titans. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the insights shared, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing you the stories of the world's most inspiring leaders. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and exclusive content. Join our community of Trailblazers and Titans, and let's continue to learn, grow, and transform our visions into reality together. Until next time, keep blazing your trail and striving for greatness.